Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Let the private sector handle imports of basic commodities. Those were the words of We Will Tell You Who in this story, which takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 14th June 2022. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Trade and Customs consultant Nigel Edwin is calling on the government of St. Lucia to consider letting the private sector handle the responsibility of importing basic commodities like sugar. This, he asserted, will speed up the process of receiving supplies. He was referring to the current shortage of sugar on the island. Don Nicholas of the DBS News World reports.
Trade and Customs consultant Nigel Edwin has taken issue with state-owned enterprises getting involved in the retail business. Mr. Edwin, who is also a former Assistant Deputy Controller of the Customs and Excise Department and worked closely with the Ministry of Commerce as Director of International Trade, has first-hand knowledge of the procedures. Mr. Edwin pointed out that the lengthy chain of command involved in the decision-making is time-consuming and could result in the delay of shipments. His comments come in the context of recent food shortages on island, including basic commodities like sugar, prompting his recommendation of allowing the private sector to take over importation of the goods.
We all are aware of how the public sector works. Right? There are processes, there are established rules, procedures, etc. You know, there is a whole question of a chain of command, etc., that informs the decision-making process, right? That in itself could take quite a bit of time.
Mr. Edwin cited countries such as Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines as examples who, despite experiencing chain supply challenges, do not have sugar shortages simply because the entire system is managed by the private sector, where the decision-making process is much quicker.
I just believe, quite apart from the fact that, look, it is costing government, and we all hate all the time, it is costing government a significant amount of money to continue to subsidize these operations, right? Because they want to keep the prices down, right? You could also do the same thing by adopting or insisting on other measures. As I suggested, look, you could basically remove the duties on sugar or reduce it. You know, basically something that will equate to the level of subsidy that is currently being provided.
He believes that if government would delegate the responsibility of the importation of basic supplies to the private sector, the current administration could manage the cost attached to getting the supplies here more efficiently. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
In the meantime, the Chief Medical Officer of St. Lucia, Dr. Sharon Belmont George, has been urging St. Lucians to be on their guard as multiple threats to public health remain a dire concern for the Ministry of Health. Jason Darius of the DBS News World has this report.
As of June 8, 2022, St. Lucia diagnosed a total of 26,250 cases of COVID-19 in country, with 492 active cases presently. The daily infection rate for the last 7 days is 28.3 per 100,000 population per day, with 29% averaging testing positivity rate and a transmission rate of 1.3. The Ministry of Health has noted a total of 370 COVID-19 deaths. 18 positive COVID-19 cases are currently admitted at the respiratory hospital, with 1 patient critically ill and 2 severely ill. For the past week, the ministry continued to register daily cases, with increases in the public health indicators. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmont George maintains that as we continue to note the return to normalcy with the opening of events and mass crowd activities, we need to ensure that the proven public health protective measures are in place to prevent further sickness and to protect the most vulnerable.
the public is reminded that the threat of COVID-19, long COVID, and its complications still exists, especially given our below-average immunization rate in country. Personal responsibility is extremely important at this time to reduce transmission of infection to ourselves and our family. The public is guided to continue the use of face masks in public, ensure hand washing and proper general sanitization. The public is also advised to use their discretion, ensure they and their vulnerable family members are fully vaccinated and boosted before attending mass crowd events.
The CMO further warns of the spread of vector-borne diseases with the advent of the rainy season.
As we commence the rainy season, this also corresponds to increases in vector-borne diseases such as dengue fever and leptospirosis. The Ministry of Health has intensified community and household visits, fogging operations, and public education. The public is reminded to inspect around their households and communities for mosquito and rodent breeding grounds. The use of mosquito nets is also advised. We already note some areas on the island with high mosquito indices at this point.
The Health Ministry is also closely monitoring the multi-country monkeypox outbreak globally and has increased surveillance and put measures in place to manage an in-country presence.
Since May 13, 2022 to June 2, 2022, 780 lab-confirmed cases have been reported from 27 member states not endemic for monkeypox. Of particular concern is that most of the confirmed cases reported a travel history to countries in Europe and North America. The risk is presently assessed as moderate by the World Health Organization, as this is the first time that many monkeypox cases and clusters are reported concurrently in non-endemic and endemic countries. St. Lucia has not recorded any cases of monkeypox to date. The signs and symptoms of monkeypox includes a rash with macules, papules, vesicles, pustules, and scabs, fever, enlarged lymph nodes, back pain, and muscle pain. Testing for monkeypox in the region is facilitated through the Caribbean Public Health Agency. Patients with monkeypox are given symptomatic treatment such as antipyretics for fever and analgesics for pain. Nutrition and rehydration are particularly important. Some patients may develop severe and life-threatening complications.
The Chief Medical Officer reveals that more information on the diseases of concern at this time will be provided in future updates. For the DBS News World, I am Jason Darius.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Citing security concerns following his performance at the Botheration show, Kevin Skeng Douglas has been banned from local shows from Guyana, according to Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben, who announced this on Friday last. HGP's Antonio Day has the details.
That no artist like Skeng will ever come again into this country. Will not come again into this country under the signature of any person from the Ministry of Home Affairs or from the Guyana Police Force.
That was Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben addressing the media on the sidelines of an event on Friday. The decision comes weeks after a show, which featured the artist went south after patrons present at the show riddled bullets in the air and began pelleting bottles while the dancehall star performed his hit, Protocol. Ben posited that if artists like Skeng want to perform in Guyana, they can do so privately in a club and behave as badly as they please.
If they want, they could go into a private club and behave as badly as they want.
Ben underscored the Ministry of Home Affairs no signing off policy of any artist who has a track record of promoting violence and lewd content in their music. The ministry further announced that other artists like Skeng will no longer be allowed in Guyana at events in public places. However, it is unclear who is referring to. Describing the music as disgraceful, the minister made it clear that such music does not have a place in Guyana due to its lack of positive influence and message. The Botheration concert was hosted by the Hits and Jam Promotion Group as part of the band launch for Guyana's Cricket Carnival during the Independence Weekend in May. The headliner for the event was Skeng. However, the show featured several other regional and local artists. Chaos reigned at the event, which captured the attention of the Guyanese public as well as persons from the Caribbean region. The show ended prematurely after patrons began busting shots and throwing bottles. Several patrons were reportedly robbed and injured during the chaotic scene. Following the day, the promoters as well as other stakeholders met for a meeting. There were changes implemented for concerts moving forward, such as the ban of gas bottles and the need for security scanners at all events. The Guyana Police Force had announced that it has launched an investigation into the shooting incidents which took place. While there are a myriad of video recordings of patrons firing weapons, the police force is yet to announce any arrests as part of the investigation. This is Antonio Day reporting for the ACP 90 News.
In its Sunday weekly news conference, the United National Congress (UNC) called on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to fire Attorney General Reginald Amor, SC, if he doesn't resign. Alicia Boucher of TV6 News reports.
The Miami 11th Circuit Court took the decision to disqualify the AG&C core law from civil asset forfeiture case in Florida against Brian Quaitong, who was accused of corruption in connection with the construction of the Piarco International Airport. This was on the basis that Reginald Amor Senior Counsel had previously represented the defendant in the local matter and was then representing the plaintiff, which is TNT, upon assuming his new role as AG. UNC MP for Chaguanas West and attorney at law Dinesh Rambali believes the situation is humiliating for this country, as he calls it a self-engineered disgrace. He's accusing Amor of downplaying his role in the Miami case.
To make his presence so meager so as to give the appearance of a very minimalistic involvement in this case. This, ladies and gentlemen, was a clear attempt at deception, and he was caught out.
That's Rambali's response to the explanation given by Amor that after his affiliation with the local case, he was walled off by Sikolo from any aspect of the Miami case other than case management issues, such as the logistics for trial, naming a person to attend mediation and to attend a trial, and payment of invoices.
The reason why this, ladies and gentlemen, this blunder is unforgivable is because, one, it was self-engineered. Two, any appeal for which the AG has already signaled his intention is going to cost you and me millions of our taxpayers' dollars.
The UNC continues to call on Amor to resign, but Rambali is taking it a step further.
The Prime Minister has a duty to act immediately. Should AG Amor refuse to step down with immediate effect, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley must act in the interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and remove AG Amor.
He says an explanation would need to be forthcoming if that is not done. The attorney is also of the view that the Law Association needs to take action, as he makes note of a planned vote of no confidence in the AG by some attorneys.
They should have acted, as we would say in law, ex proprio motu. They should have acted of their own initiative, of their own volition, and have taken steps to deal with this matter, one way or the other. But, Law Association, we wait to hear from you.
Alicia Boucher, TV6 News.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.